The new Pet Sematary has fans debating the changes it made to the original story, but what I've also discovered is that there are some radically different endings to the remake that were almost used in the final film. Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, I'm Jan, and in this video I'm revealing the 3 incredible endings you never got to see in the new Pet Sematary, including the happy ending Stephen King recommended. Plus keep watching for more deleted scenes cut from the final film. Spoilers ahead for the movie, so take care if you haven't seen it yet. The filmmakers of the new Pet Sematary had 3 different endings planned for the movie, which they describe as dark, darker, and darkest. Now, the ending we actually got for the film was pretty bleak, with not just Ellie and Rachel dying, but Lewis also killed. On top of that, in the movie's final scene, we see the resurrected Lewis, Ellie, and Rachel approaching the family's sole survivor, Gage, who's in a car looking out the window at his undead family when we hear the horrifying sound of the doors unlocking. The opening scene of the movie showed us an opened car door with bloody hand stains, heavily indicating that poor Gage surely didn't survive. This chilling everyone dies twist on the original story was the darkest version on the table, and if you found it too horrifying for your liking, you might have preferred the much lighter ending that Stephen King suggested. The horror legend saw an early cut once the filmmakers began their reshoots, and based on that he recommended an ending where Gage is walking up the middle of the road. We see dawn and we hear a truck coming and think, oh my god, he's gonna get greased in the road, that's how this is gonna end. Then at the last second this woman pulls him out of the road and rescues him and says, where's your mummy and daddy? Both King's original story and the 1989 movie had Gage rather than Ellie killed by a truck in the road earlier in the story, so this alternate ending would have been a hat tip to that, with the twist being that this time the little toddler is saved. King would have ended the movie right there, leaving the ultimate fate of the woman in Gage unknown as she goes off in search of Gage's parents. Speaking to EW, King suggested he's a sucker for a happy ending, and it's interesting that the finale he suggested for the remake would have been drastically different to how he ended his own book. The second alternate ending was actually filmed, and while it's still dark, it's just a touch lighter than what we saw in the final movie. In an interview with Collider, producer Lorenzo Di Bonaventura describes what it entails. There's a version where mum and daughter are both back from the dead, and there's a shot of Lewis with Gage in his lap. Both of them are normal, and then mum walks in. She's clearly out there in another world, and daughter comes in and daughter says, "Hi mummy, I love you." And then the camera's on them like a family portrait, and then it just pulls back and the little kid's crying, and Lewis just looks like he's been run over by a bus. So in this version we still have an undead Ellie and Rachel at the end, and although it seems unlikely that Lewis and Gage could survive the onslaught of these 2 reanimated family members, the way it ends does leave open the slightest possibility. This alternate ending is more of a direct play on the original 1989 movie's ending, where Lewis was waiting in the kitchen for the resurrected corpse of Rachel to return to him. In that movie, it showed Rachel grabbing a knife and ended on Lewis's screams, which is why I think this second alternate ending for the new film very likely implies that Lewis and Gage will both die. A 2017 draft of the screenplay also reveals yet another interesting finale that could have been. In this ending, it's Rachel who discovers Jud's dead body and then goes to look for Ellie in the woods. She finds her undead daughter in the pet cemetery, and armed with Jud's gun, she tries to shoot Ellie but misses. Ellie attacks her mother with the scalpel, and during the fight, Rachel drops the revolver. Ellie grabs the gun, aims it at her mother, and with pitch black eyes and a wicked smile on her face, she says, "Love you, mummy," then pulls the trigger. But just at that moment, Lewis arrives, and in the aftermath, we discover he's the one who's been shot. Lewis dies, leaving Rachel stricken with grief. The undead Ellie then walks over to her mother and goes to kill her, but notices something about her mother's pain and instead whispers something to her. The scene then cuts to Gage asleep in the car, and suddenly Ellie's there smiling at him. Then Rachel walks over, unlocks the car door and takes Gage over to the front porch with her where she sits down. The camera pans out to Ellie dancing in the yard, and a shadow appears in front of her. Ellie looks up surprised and exclaims, "Daddy!" at which point the screen cuts to black. So as you can see, this ending, like the others, is pretty crazy and twisted. It's more open in terms of whether Rachel and Gage could survive, but of course they'd need to defeat the resurrected Lewis and Ellie. Now if you watch the trailers for the movie, you'll probably have noticed quite a few scenes missing from the final film. For example, several ZELDA scenes didn't make it in, including this one of ZELDA creeping up behind Rachel and grabbing her. Other ZELDA scenes that were cut involve Rachel experiencing more visions of her sister when she visits her childhood home in Boston. In an interview with /Film, the directors described a deleted scene where Rachel goes to her sister's bedroom to confront her fear of her dead sister in a moment similar to one in the 1989 movie. The reason for this cut was that the directors wanted to focus the ZELDA scenes on the house the family moved to in Ludlow, as by only having visions of ZELDA appear to Rachel and the family's new house, it emphasises the power the Wendigo has on the area near the cursed burial ground. The filmmakers also said they didn't want the ZELDA storyline to overwhelm the film, but they've promised that we'll see these extra scenes on the home entertainment release. Interestingly enough though, ZELDA wasn't actually in the original script for the remake, but when directors Kevin Kölsch and Widmyer came on board, they insisted on including ZELDA's story as it was vital to give Rachel a more substantial role. There's another terrifying snippet in the trailers that didn't make it in, which looks like a flashback to when Jud's wife Norma was alive. This scene could have been really interesting, as it could have helped explain why Ellie tells Jud that she's seen his dead wife Norma burning in hell for what he did to her. In King's original novel, the possessed Gage taunts Jud about Norma cheating on him with all his friends, and in the book, Jud also has a brief history of having visited prostitutes. Kölsch has said that the deleted scene shows more of Jud's backstory and his relationship with the burial ground. Which leads me to think that when Norma died, Jud resurrected her. But as with everyone who comes back, Norma wasn't right. You can see her here rocking back and forth in a chair while an iron has been left on in the background. Jud probably had to kill the undead Norma, and now the Wendigo is using Ellie to come back as his wife to punish him. There are also some intriguing trailer scenes of children in animal masks that never made it into the final movie. In the film, we only see the kids as they parade down to the Pet Sematary, but in the trailer, there's also these additional scenes of the children going beyond the barrier all the way to the cursed burial ground, where they seem to be burying a dead animal. The directors have revealed that these scenes were only filmed for marketing the movie. In their interview with /Film, they explained that on studio films they send marketing departments down, and they actually have their own camera unit, and they take your actors and go and shoot things that are just specifically for trailers and marketing spots. In fact, the directors only saw those scenes for the first time when they saw the trailer. They were slightly concerned that these fake scenes, so to speak, might confuse the audience, but in the end they don't think they did. Now, what do you think about any of these deleted scenes, and would you prefer any of the alternate endings? Tap the screen to vote in the poll and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell to get all my new videos. Next, tap left for a full breakdown of Pet Sematary, including Easter eggs, the Wendigo and sequel possibilities. Or tap right for my horror movie deleted scenes playlist. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers!